Jan, your friend said that this whole wolf controversy has torn the town apart. Is that, I mean, how difficult is it to deal with something like this in a really small community?
Well, one, most of us live here because of the wildlife and the mountains, and you know, hunting is legal here. We have a small group of hunters that hunt. Of course, the wildlife group, it upsets them because they know the history of the wolves in Yellowstone. But when somebody is legally hunting, there's not a whole lot you can do about that.
So, I mean, is this to the point where like neighbors aren't talking to each other, or?
No, I think business as usual. I mean, if you lived in this town, you would know very little. We're hearing more from the outside world coming in, and the controversy out of the park, and some of the wildlife groups and the groups that are online. We've heard a lot more. I know there's a lot of talk about it in Billings and Bozeman and the surrounding areas.
Is that bad for business?
I feel when people don't have the correct information, it's bad for business. I cater to a lot of the wildlife groups in the summer and winter, and they are a big chunk of my business, both seasons. So I don't want negativity to be out there hurting our community, because even though you have a small percentage of hunters in this area, doesn't represent the majority of Cook City folks and Silvergate folks. We live here because we love the wildlife.
And that's really the only business. Tourism is about the only business in town.
Our snowpack is low this year, so we're not seeing our regular snowmobilers as usual. Hopefully with the snow that's coming down now will help, and February will look better for us. It's definitely a different year than last year. Last year we had more than enough snow. This year we're lacking snow, so still enough to snowmobile though.
So tell me about when I first arrived here today. There were two large groups. Your restaurant was full all the way. Two large groups of people who were having lunch. Is that fairly typical?
Yes, it is in the seasons. My wildlife groups are just really now getting started for winter. So January, February, March, I'll have wildlife groups. Then it kind of calms down till summer. And then, of course, in summertime, we'll have all kinds of wildlife groups and photography groups coming through.
So Jan, tell me about how you normally interact with the groups who come in. The wolf and other animal watching groups, and how important that is for you.
Well, the groups are coming to Yellowstone, coming out of Yellowstone. I was here when the wolves were introduced, so I've been answering questions about wolves for, since '95. I tell people when they ask if I'm for the wolf, of course the wolf needs to be here. That's been proven. Ecology and just what has come back into the park because of the wolves being introduced. But I also believe that the wolves need to be managed, and I think Montana does a really good job of managing the wolves. Unlike different states around us, they have little tolerance for the wolves, and I think Montana does a good job. They let people take care of their livelihood, whether it be ranchers or neighbors, and I feel like you do need to protect your stock and your pets. So I'm all for that, and I think Montana does a good job of that. Proud of Montana for that.
Now, recently there was a dog killed by some wolves here, and I talked to the FWP folks yesterday about that. They assured me that they don't have a plan to go out and eliminate the wolves, to kill the wolves or anything like that. But does that make people nervous, or are folks here pretty accustomed to living?
Just about everybody in Cook City has a dog. We also have to be responsible for our pets. Unfortunately, this was a very unfortunate situation. this gal let her dog out, who was 15 years old, in the yard, and the attack happened, and very, very unfortunate, and we all feel bad, and I know she wants to move on, so we don't want to talk a lot about that, but we also, as pet owners, need to be responsible, and she was being responsible. She was right there. She was just on the other side. It's an accident. We definitely live in their territory. We're the visitors in the wildlife area. So I think most of the time, and most of the people in this community respect that and try to live amongst the animals and not against them.
So I noticed, I'm not sure if you posted it or someone else from the group, a little list on Facebook of things that people should be careful about, things that they should do because they live there. That wasn't you?
That was Audra.
Oh.
That was you.
So, well, I guess where I'm going with that is, I mean, do folks around town talk about that, about,
you know, I hope so. We're more, well, we see each other more in the summertime when we're walking up and down the roads. In the wintertime, everybody's usually busy and doing their own things in the evening. But, yeah, as my friend pointed out, you need to look before you leap. You know, look outside before you let your dog out, in and out at night, or stand outside with your dog, or have your dog on a leash. You know, there's, I hate to say it was a matter of time, but I had a friend here who let her dog out at 7:30 every morning, and it was killed by a mountain lion who was probably watching this dog and knew exactly what time of the day that this dog came out. You didn't hear that on TV or on the news, but it does occasionally happen up here. So.
And I imagine you have to take precautions because of bears in the summertime.
Bears, mountain lions, wolves, all kinds of creatures that could affect your pet's welfare.
But it's worth it?
To live here? Oh, absolutely. Who gets to go up, get a drink of water and see moose walk by their yard? Yeah, I wouldn't give it up for anything. Everything you see in Yellowstone, I see in my yard. And I'm very blessed for that. I'm very fortunate.
And you think a lot of people in town feel that way?
Oh, the majority, yes.
I just want to go back a little bit, and I know you're not completely comfortable with it, a little bit. What would you say the split is in town? Are people split 50-50 over the wildlife issue, or is it 75-25?
No, let's say 80-20. You know, I'm really not sure. You know, when I moved here back in 95, I just saw this area as a live and let live area, where if what your neighbors are doing is not affecting you, then you should just live and let people do what they want to do. As far as hunting up here, if they're doing it legally, there's nothing anyone can do. But that's, you know, we shouldn't have to pick and choose between hunting and wildlife. You know, we have all kinds of people that live here for all kinds of reasons. But I think the majority is for the wildlife and for the scenery and for the activities. Hunting, fishing, camping, I mean, world-class fishing goes on here. People come from all over. People look at us and say, do you know how lucky you are to live here? And I say, oh, yes, I do.
You talked about setting the record straight. When groups come in and they come in with their tour guides, are you able to talk to them and kind of fill
I am. I just had one person ask me about what was going on, and it was, I said, you know, it's been bad, but it's getting better. We just don't want people to think that we're baiting wolves in, because that's not true, and that's what's been out there. And I think that's what has upset everyone. That's not what Cook City folks are about. We're here because we love the wildlife.